Hello, beautiful souls. How are you? It's almost the spring equinox. So, you know what that means? That means there's been a lot of ups and downs, right? I know there has been for me. And what just dropped in for me recently is that we need the hibernation time of winter. We need that internal reflection time to set ourselves up for spring. Because what happens in spring? Our flowers bloom, things come alive, animals come out. So that means that the seeds that we've planted in the winter time, or probably fall is when we planted them, but and what I mean by that, I should back up. What I mean by that are those things that we have wanted. So the seed of our wants and desires, we have planted those and they need that nurturing time of hibernation in winter to reflect, to dig deeper, which is one of my favorite sayings. And then the sun comes out in spring, the snow melts, it gets warm, and our flowers bloom. We start to see that we're in bloom. And that's just so beautiful. And that's been the theme of the last couple weeks is all of these things I hadn't dealt with, or maybe I thought I dealt with, and they just come back up again, have come back up again for me to work through. And that's what leads me to this thing, this topic that I want to discuss called reaction. And for those of us that maybe aren't even on a journey of inner healing or a journey of internal work, maybe you just stumbled upon this video and you're like, yeah, reacting, isn't that what we all do? Like, I trip over a crack in the sidewalk and I react by saying, "Gah, why?" Yeah, that's a reaction. But what I'm really talking about is when you're triggered. And that's a big word, right? When you're triggered. When you have a full body response, or maybe you don't even consciously have the response, but you act out because of what you're feeling. And why that's so important is because you don't even realize that you're just reacting. Because on the flip side, responding is not right away lashing out. And I say lash out because a lot of times we experience this in our arguments. A lot of times. Not all the time, but you could be talking with your mom or your sister or maybe a friend, and then all of a sudden they say something or do something that you don't agree with, and you rapidly react. You say that thing that you wish you didn't say. You treat them like you wish you never would have treated them. And so, what is so important about reacting is that that is our unconscious response. That is been, I should clarify, that has been the response up to the moment that you realize that that's not the response you actually want. So, in that moment that it clicks for you, that, hey, I shouldn't have treated my mom like garbage today. It wasn't her fault that she wasn't paying attention. That's just what she does. But why did I react to her like that? Why did I say those hurtful words? Well, upon reflecting, I said those hurtful words because it hurt me that I wasn't being paid attention to. But was that actually a loving response? I think we all know no. No, that was not a loving response. In fact, that was kind of a crappy one. Because I don't want to treat her like that. I don't want to treat anyone in my life like that. And I laugh about it now, but it wasn't in the moment. It wasn't funny in the moment. In fact, it was really hurtful. And then I like zoomed out from my personal life and I thought about flowers. I thought about how flowers respond to their environment. But at the same time, they do have reactions. And what do I mean by that, right? Well, let's take a rose, for example. A rose, the petals fall in the wintertime. Hibernation. Circling back to hibernation, like I said in the beginning. But then when the sun comes out and the temperature evens out a little bit and it gets warmer, the flower blooms. And the flower is responding to its environment because it's not outwardly dropping all of its petals because of, I don't know, some random rainstorm. I just made that up, but some random outside experience that the flower is having that it then in turn dropped all of its petals. That didn't happen. What happened is that winter came. It got cold. That's not an environment for that flower. So the petals fell. So it was responding. And once I like looked at it in that way, I saw the ways in which I was reacting. And with all of this work that I do, it's every single day that I look at myself, I work on myself, I look at the things that I don't really want to look at because that means I had to admit that I was being not a nice person to my mother, right? I had to admit that. But through all of that, I still have moments where I'm reacting, where I am unconsciously aware of the fact that this is a pattern that I have been living up until this moment because I recognized it. And the tricky part about that is that sometimes you don't realize that it's happening unless that other person triggered you. Because when I'm by myself, I'm not over here lashing out at the people around me that I love. And that's something to even think about is like, okay, well, if I'm reacting this way, am I reacting in these other ways? Like, where else am I reacting instead of responding? Because a response is something that you take a breath. You have that internal awareness. And maybe it's not even internal, like you're consciously thinking about it, but you have those moments where you know that you shouldn't say that first thing that comes into your head. That you just kind of take a breath, maybe not physically, but internally, take a breath, wait, think about it, sit with it, and then you come up with how you really feel. And that sounds like it's a long process, I know, but I promise you, sometimes it's like a matter of seconds that all of this happens. But there are times, because we're human, there are times where you will get triggered. You will not remember to respond. You will not remember to take a breath. And you will react. But at that same moment, that after it happens and you figure out that you reacted, you have a chance to change that frequency of you reacting. And what do I mean by change that frequency? You're getting a little weird, right? What I mean by that is that space within you that you reacted to that thing, that place, that person that triggered you. That was a feeling that has followed you in your life, in your body, that got captured in your body. And then you responded in the way, you reacted in a way that you weren't consciously aware of. This is the reaction that you've had to keep yourself safe. To feel safe, this is the reaction you've had. Now you figured out, hey, that's not actually how I want to be in this situation. So now you have a chance to look at that reaction. I don't want to treat my mom like this. So why did I? Why did I, get upset at her? And then I chose to act out, right? I chose to react in a negative way. So now I get the chance to look at that and stay. Wow, I'm getting so emotional. I'm getting tripped up. But now I get to say, okay, my mom upset me. What is the root of why she did that? What do I need to look at in order to respond in a different way? So when this happens again, because human nature, things happen over and over, when this happens again, how can I get myself to respond instead of react? Because I am a loving being, I have an open heart, and I want to show my mom that I love her, that I don't hate her, that I don't want to attack her, but that I love her. And how can I show in a loving way and respond in a loving way that what she did wasn't loving for me without tearing her down? So that is the difference between reacting and responding. And it's tough because, like I said, I've been doing this for a while, and yet I still have moments where I go back and forth in things in my life, in relationships in my life, that these patterns repeat over and over and over. But sometimes these things happen for us to move past it, to move on from it. And now that we're moving into spring, it makes sense that some of these things come up in these past couple weeks because people are our greatest mirrors. The more that we judge, the more that we see something that we don't like or see something that we do like in others, in places, in things, are a direct reflection of something within us. And so, how do I want to treat myself? My mom is a reflection of me. She's a reflection of some aspect of me. Do I want to treat myself that way? No. I want to respond in a loving way so I can move on, get higher, get better, put my frequency on, put my crown on, and be the boss babe with an open heart that is here to love. And that's how I'm going to end it. Love you guys. I will talk to you next week.